Welcome to the Krista Redpath Show, where sports take center stage and stories come to life. I'm your host, Krista, veteran analyst and passionate storyteller, bringing you weekly in-depth conversations and sharp analysis across the world of sports. The Krista Redpath Show, breaking down the game, elevating the story, and championing the female voice. Today's show is proudly brought to you by the Good Food Store, where there's always something good here. At the Good Food Store, they believe good food should be good for the planet too. That's why they launched their glass jar program, reusable, returnable jars for their house-made deli favorites. Here's how it works. Pick up your favorite deli item in a glass jar, pay a $2 deposit, and then when you're done, bring it back clean. They'll refund your deposit, no hassle. Delicious food, less waste. It's that simple. Join the glass jar movement at the Good Food Store today. This week on the Krista Redpath Show, I'm taking you inside Montana State women's basketball as the Bobcats make their run through the WNIT. We'll start with head coach Tricia Binford breaking down the team's identity, their win over San Francisco, and what's ahead in the Super 16 against Portland in the Brick tonight. Then we'll hear from Big Sky MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, Taylee Chirrick, one of the most disruptive players in the country, as we dive into her journey from Roberts, Montana, to this moment. It's all coming up next. Joining me now is head coach of the Montana State women's basketball team, Tricia Binford, one of the most respected and consistent leaders in the Big Sky Conference. In her 21st season, she has the Bobcats back in the postseason and into the WNIT Super 16, coming off a dominant win over San Francisco in front of a loud Brick Breeden Fieldhouse crowd. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
It's great to be here, Krista.
So, defensively holding San Francisco to 53, I felt like that second quarter really set the tone for you, holding them to 13 while putting up 22. What stood out most to you in that win?
Well, the big thing was we put 2 quarters back to back where we kept them under 14 and weathered a little bit of the storm of, we were a little rusty, I would say, in that first quarter. We hadn't played in 10 days. And so I just told them, we're just a little rusty. The offense is going to start getting going. But the defense stayed consistent for us. And then once the offense got rolling, it just kind of led into that second half.
So you had close to 2,400 fans in the Brick. And as I was watching the game on the stream, I just felt like there was a constant buzz in the crowd the entire time. Like, what did that environment feel like from your perspective?
Well, I had no idea of what to expect. For me, it was my first postseason game. I think it was March 22nd. I'm like, people are still potentially on spring break. Students are still traveling back. And, how are they going to respond to like a postseason game like this? And so when I walked out and saw the crowd, I got goosebumps, to be quite honest. To have that kind of a crowd, it felt like a conference crowd. It actually felt as packed as anything. I'm like, if anything, I was surprised that it was only 2,400. I felt like it was over 3,000. They were into it. They were excited about it. They kind of helped carry us through until our offense got going. But that third quarter, that might be the loudest crowd I've even heard. I'm like, they were involved in every single scenario, whether it was, tacos for the free throws or if it was a defensive stand or something positive offensively. It just, it seemed like really the community embraced this postseason play for us and definitely felt supported.
So you're in the Super 16. You beat Portland in the second game of the season back in Portland. You put up 86, but you also gave up 72. What are you seeing now defensively from your group that maybe wasn't there in November and December?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm like, we were flying everywhere, but we were taking a million risks. So you're looking at Portland. Every time you took a risk, they exposed it for us on the offensive end. They're very good. You've got 2 really great defensive teams that both pressure heavily, both turn teams over. So it's going to be the battle of who can take care of the basketball and who can turn the other one over. But we took so many risks that we gave up a lot of layups. I would hope that we've gotten a little bit better in that area as far as what risk to take so we can make sure we guard well, we make them earn what they get, because this is a very veteran coach, a very experienced team that does a great job, and particularly does a great job in postseason.
So one key that you relayed to me heading into tournament play was that you needed everyone. Is this the same type of key you have as you continue to progress in postseason play?
Well, absolutely. You don't really have that much time in between each of these games. So we've been fortunate that this second game we get to be at home again where we're not traveling. I think that's huge, getting that by that first round. But your depth really comes into play with how quick of a turnaround all these games are with your short prep time. And obviously our style of play is also a major key why your bench is so vital and so important. And we have an incredible bench, and I would say Tegan Erickson's playing her best basketball as ever right now. Brianne Bailey continues to give us some great point production off the board or off the bench. You got Cadence Couture's playing a lot of hats. We're playing under a few different positions, and she's impacting both offensively and defensively. And I do feel like Brooke is starting to get some of that cardio and conditioning back because she's such a powerful defender for us and a great rebounder. And I think she had 6 rebounds in her last game. So we're consistently getting some great production there, and allows your veterans, or you're not your veterans, but your starters to get a little bit more rest. And when they come back, they're playing better. So I think there's a ripple effect that's super positive for both.
It's been really neat to see Cadence have a year, and she's just flourished under your system. And I know everyone in Missoula loves to see that type of success, but I feel like she's just that gritty kid. She had a couple of great rebounds in that second quarter. She's just finding her way as a freshman.
Well, and she's such a gritty's a great way to describe her, but she's such a reliable kid too. I'm like the kids. I mean, there were a couple of possessions that could have been very close to charges too. This kid's sliding over and she's loading to the ball. She's there to protect her teammates at all costs. I'm like, she's such a whatever we need kind of kid. You love those kids in your program that are willing to step up into any role that's needed. But then all of a sudden, she's doing these things for you defensively. But you move this ball quickly, and she's got a quick trigger, and like her shot really. When we've gotten all these teams that are sagging and everything, and all of a sudden we're swinging and she's lighting up a quick three in your face. I'm like, you're going to have to guard this kid. She can post you up. She can take the three. She's really starting to understand the system on the defensive end, on how attack minded she gets to be. So I think she's having a lot of fun with it. And she's probably having the most fun on the sideline celebrating her teammates as well. So she's the one trying to give us some new things to celebrate when a kid hits a three.
So you have one of the most dynamic players in the country in Taylee Chirrick, Big Sky Conference MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, unanimous first team, all conference, top 2 nationally in steals. What has her growth meant to you this season?
Well, it's obviously it's been so much fun to watch her growth and to watch her dedication to her craft. I'm like, you have a kid that was a multi sport athlete coming in from high school, and last year we just let her be that athlete and just be disruptive and kind of have that freedom, and then really challenging her to grow her skill set as far as where she's going to have to impact and scoring punch for us. So even this last game, we actually moved her from the 3 to the 1 at times just to get the ball in her hands to be that playmaker for other people. So I feel like she's kind of taken on anything we're throwing at her, to be quite honest, that at this point, there's not a stat that she doesn't have. I'm like, if anything, I'm like, she's blocking now. She's her assists are extremely high. Her point production has been very, very consistent. The defensive end, she's always going to be disrupting there. So the rebounding seems to be one of her great gifts. I'm like, I just feel like she's got a great feel for the game of basketball, but she also has such a selfless heart that she just she just wants to win, and whatever it needs to look like for us to win, she's going to do. She's going to go out and give you 100% every time.
So she joins the ranks of some Bobcat greats. When I look at other MVPs that you've coached, Jasmine Hamas, Fallon Frigi, Peyton Ferris, Esmeralda Morales, I also have to throw Darian White in there. She was an MVP of the tournament. She really joins a very, very high level group and solidifies herself in the history books. What does that mean for your program?
Well, it's important that you remind kids about the legacy and the impact that they get to have. Like you've got an interesting time with everything going on nationally, and you have an opportunity to be a Hall of Famer, be a legacy, not only in the MSU record books, but she's breaking Big Sky records, and not a lot of kids you get to talk about that. And she has a chance to do that as a potential junior and breaking the all-time steals record. I'm like, she's on her way. play in such a category that she might be hard to catch in any facet, So I just, first of all, she represents the state of Montana. Anybody in this state, if you watch a little bit of basketball, you're going to know who 44 is. One of the things I think I'm most proud beyond her stats and her production of impact on the court is her desire to just be a role model out in the community, whatever and wherever she needs to be to do that. Like she's the first one leaving the locker room, finding kids to go sign autographs. I know she and I think Tegan are going to Minnesota this summer with Special Olympics. I'm like, there is not a kid she won't impact or not a person that does not know who this kid is. She's just so much fun to watch. And she's a Montana kid. And I think people get out, they get fired up, they get excited about these kids, the way our kids play and how hard they play for each other. I'm like, that's the way you want this game to be.
We're super excited to hear from Taylee in the next part of our show. So, Coach Binford, what would a run like this, getting to the Great Eight as you continue to progress in this postseason play, what would that mean for your program?
I mean, we're kind of taking one round at a time, Krista, to be quite honest. I'm like, I think the big starting point for us was the reset, number one. I'm like, I think there was a level of disappointment initially where, I actually had the team over to watch that WBIT because, everybody that we had talked to had said that we're going to be in the WBIT, whether that's Big Sky Conference, even hearing from WNIT and, with what we had done with our resume, I think we all had an expectation to play in that tournament. And then when that didn't happen, it was just like, okay, let's have a reset. We had earned the opportunity with the automatic with the WNIT and super grateful that, what they recognized with our resume and gave us a first round bye. And then we got the home game. I think that reset and that understanding of, hey, this tournament, there's a great level of respect of what we've shown up to this point, but now it's 0-0, and now we have to prove ourselves all over again. And we have an opportunity to play in the postseason. I think the kids are taking a lot of pride, not only the pride of representing our community, like our community is showing up for these kids. I'm like, that's what Sunday felt like is as far as we're doing this, not only for ourselves, or we're doing this for MSU. I'm like, look at all the fans that are showing up for this postseason run, but we're also doing it for the Big Sky Conference because the Big Sky Conference should have had a team represented in the WBIT. Last year, we had a team, NAU, won in the first round. Idaho represented us extremely well in the NCAA tournament. The Big Sky Conference is competitive. I think we are doing a great job consistently having teams under 100 in the net. And so I think there's some big things that this is about, but we're just trying to keep our kids of making sure they're focused on getting 1% better with a team that has no seniors. This is a great opportunity for us to see how far we can go in this and playing our best basketball. So I guess that's a long answer to a short question. I think the big thing for us is finding a way to go 1-0 against a very good Portland team. So I guess we'll talk about that question hopefully next week and answer that. But I'm proud that we're getting to represent this, what do we call the 16 that we're in right now. So.
Yes. Well, Coach, I really appreciate the time and what a run it's been, and best of luck to you tonight against Portland.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Krista. Thanks so much.
They call her the Roberts Robber or the Cat Burglar. And with over 4 steals a game, you can see why. Joining me today is Montana State sophomore guard Taylee Chirrick, the Big Sky Conference MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and unanimous first team selection. She ranks second in the nation in steals per game and has been the engine behind Montana State's pressure defense. After helping the Bobcats to a WNIT win over San Francisco, she now has Montana State in the Super 16 with the matchup against Portland tonight in the Brick. Taylee, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
So I want to start with those nicknames. The Roberts Robber, I feel like your dad coined the Cat Burglar. But can you tell me about those nicknames and where they came from?
Yeah, so the Roberts Robber, I graduated from Roberts High School. So we were the Roberts Rockets. And so they kind of took my school, in my town of Roberts. And since, I guess I have a knack for stealing the ball, they thought it was funny to do the Roberts Robber. And then the Cat Burglar, kind of the same thing with the steals, joke, but obviously we're the cats. So yeah, it's been fun to hear all these fun nicknames people have been giving.
So I know you're very close with your family and they're just one step away from you all the time in all of your games, and your parents are very active with giving you accolades and being able to just talk about how important family life is. Can you talk about those early years in Roberts and what it was like growing up with your two siblings?
Yeah, I'm very close with both my siblings. It's been great to have both a sister and a brother. My sister, we're 18 months apart, so I think that perfect age range where you just kind of become best friends, especially being sisters. Like you play all your sports together and you kind of just grow up being competitive with each other. And then my brother, he's quite a bit younger than me, but he's a freshman in high school this year. And I think just having a younger brother has been cool. It's been fun to be able to be the oldest, to be a role model for both my siblings. But yeah, my brother, I mean, he's my little brother, but now he's like 6'4", so not so little anymore, but it's been really fun.
So in a town that's small like that, like what did sports look like for you early on?
Yeah, honestly, just a big emphasis on work ethic, I'd say. With having a sister, we're able to be in the gym together and rebound for each other. My dad, he built a basketball court for us, so we were able to practice out in the yard, and just having the ability to have parents that were super supportive with travel ball days and getting out in AAU to travel around the country and get exposure, I think was really impactful.
So were you always really competitive growing up? Did you guys have competitive games with your like with your brother and sister, or what did that look like growing up?
For sure. I'd say me and my sister, since we're closer in age, it was definitely more competitive of kind of those fights of, close games and things would happen. But no, it's always been super fun. I think any sport that I've done, I grew up playing multiple sports. So just having that competitive edge in really anything I did, I think really helped in all aspects of life and sports, both.
So who do you think were your biggest influences growing up?
I'd have to say my parents, my dad, super competitive. He's kind of a person that somehow good at everything, somehow wins everything. So definitely competitiveness comes from him. And he's always been super hard on me, which has been, I think, really important for my development as I've grown up. And then my mom, so I'm going to be a teacher. She's also a teacher. And I definitely wanted to follow in her footsteps because I can just see the impact she makes in students' lives. And she has coached me growing up in travel ball and things, and just been that supportive person that I needed.
So that was going to be my question. Did your mom or dad coach you in travel ball? It was more your mom?
It was more my mom, yeah. So my mom coached me like as my coach. My dad was a sideline coach.
So they were both coaching.
Right, yeah, pretty much.
That's great. I coached
Yeah.
my son all the way from like third grade through eighth grade in those
Oh, that's
AAU
so
years. So
fun.
I was probably one of the only moms that was coaching.
Right?
There is something to be said about the challenges, though, of also playing for your parents, right? Because
Sure.
there's definitely, you just have to go about things a little bit differently when it's your parents involved.
100%. I'm thankful that it was my mom coaching me over my dad when I was younger because like my mom she's more sweet and that type of coach, and the car rides home would be my dad's coaching. So it's probably for the best that I didn't hear him coaching me the entire game.
So did your mom play in college?
She didn't. She grew up in a really small town, Victor, Montana, and so yeah, she was. It sounded like she was a pretty good basketball player, but just didn't really have the ability to kind of get exposure, and was just hard, just how she grew up.
Was it always basketball, Taylee? I mean, I know you're very big into running, and we're going to
Yeah,
get into some of your records that you've set, but was it always basketball, or were there other competitive games or other things that you played, maybe soccer or baseball growing up?
yeah. I did pretty much all the above: soccer, baseball, basketball, volleyball, track, cross country, literally pretty much anything. Yeah, I think basketball I just always like enjoyed the most out of anything. Just, started YMCA and just my parents joked that I was running before I was walking. So I was always just running around, and that's where kind of running, I got an edge for running. And but basketball is fun because, you get to emphasize running down the floor, but also it's a skill side too, which is fun.
So tell me about like when you first decided, hey, I think I want to play college basketball. Or was it you were toying between track and basketball? I mean, it's very rare that you have an athlete that could go D1 in multiple sports and you had that opportunity. Like what pushed you towards basketball?
For sure. I think it was just the side of it that I knew I always wanted to play basketball because it was truly my favorite sport always growing up. The other side of it was just like the fact that I just never get nervous for basketball has been a big thing for me. Like running sports, like for anybody that does track and cross country, they totally know when you're about to start a race, you're nervous and the nerves really can get to you and it's not the most fun feeling to be nervous for a race. And I've just never had that for basketball. So it's more just kind of like it's a fun sport that I enjoy and don't get nervous for.
So you have the Montana Class C state record for the 400 meter, 800 meter, and 300 meter hurdles. Like,
Yes.
was that just gut wrenching sick before you set those records? I mean, tell me a little bit about that.
100%. Yes. The nerves that I would experience before races was unimaginable feeling. Like I would be hours before and my stomach would just, oh, it was terrible feeling. But I mean, I think the success that comes after when you finish, like it's all worth it. But the moments before it, it's one of the worst feelings ever.
So Coach Binford and I have talked a lot about you over the last couple of years, and she said that, watching you run just even solidified more that she wanted you to play for her. Can you talk about like when you began that recruiting process and how your relationship started with the coaching staff for Montana State?
Yeah, I had gone to a team camp in Bozeman, like my freshman year of high school, and Coach Ben had called me and my mom into her office to kind of talk after. She must have saw something that she liked, right? So that's pretty exciting and had a really good discussion with her. And we ended up leaving there. And my mom said, like, I just like had great vibes from that conversation. And I think that's just where it started. And obviously that was early in my recruiting process for schools and stuff, but that was just already like a good vibe situation. And then as recruiting continued and I got in contact with all the other coaches, like Coach Sunny. She's just a great lady to talk to and she's
Love that.
awesome. She's
Yeah.
awesome. And so I think just meeting and connecting with the coaches, going on visits and just understanding their playing style really emphasizes how I like to play. I think that was also a big part of it.
So you were the Class C scoring leader at close to 32 points per game. That's like the third highest single season average in state history. I mean, Taylee, that's really impressive. You made the move from Billings West back to Roberts. Do you feel like that was the right place for you and going back to where your hometown roots were?
Yeah, for sure. I honestly, I think a big part of it was just the community around smaller
Mhm.
towns. And you can just totally see that with, I mean, even in Bozeman, just having a huge community support, a support system with the community just makes playing for them and even just going to school like way more fun. There was not a single day of that I would be driving to Roberts to go to school that I didn't want to go to school, which is, it's hard to say as a high schooler and, you're, looking forward to college and stuff, but I enjoyed going to school every day. The teachers made it fun. My classmates made it fun. And there was just things to look forward to.
Every time I can mention Class C basketball on the air, on any games that I call of yours, I absolutely love it. I love to bring up Tegan Erickson and Saco, Montana, and I love to bring up Roberts, Montana. But do you think there's about 300 people in
Yes. Yep.
Roberts?
Yep.
Okay, just
That's
wondering if
right.
that was about right. But I
Yes.
feel like the whole town gets behind it. I'm double A, so my son plays for Missoula Hellgate, and we were just at double A in Billings. Class C was here in Missoula. Just the energy around Class C, like how many travel. And it seems like it's just like the center of the community. And I feel like that is it's amazing.
100%. And even just our, last game that we just had, I had, fans from Roberts that just made the drive just to come watch. And I think it's just super special that even in the college level, they're still supporting me.
So now you make the move into Montana State and you have your first year. And I mean, it's a big jump. I remember as a player coming in, right, from high school to college, and you look around and you think, okay, I was the top where I was at. Now I got to kind of start over, right? The pecking order starts over. But you had such a great freshman year, defensive player of the year as a freshman. And that's like pretty incredible accolade to receive as a freshman or to earn. Can you talk about what it was like to come into Montana State your freshman year?
Yeah. I think freshman year coming in can be hard, and I think it is hard for a lot of people. Even if you're not in athletics, getting used to the scheduling, being away from home for the first time. But as a student athlete, on top of that, having, a basketball schedule and your days are just super repetitive and you end up missing home and things aren't also perfect all the time, right? And I think just learning and figuring out, the system and making sure that, if things were getting tough, that I was able to talk to people about it. But yeah, overall, I think it's good to get your freshman year out of the way because that's, honestly the hardest part. Now as a sophomore, like all the tough stuff's gone. So it's like, okay, like I know the system and, I can see my parents, they come to my games. And I think that also is really helpful that I do get to see my parents as much as I do.
That's really nice. Did they get to almost every game,
Yeah,
Taylee?
all of our home games they have been at, and a few of the road ones they've been able to go to that have been close, which is cool.
Yeah, and that's also challenging when you have younger siblings, right? Because you have your sister TJ that is playing for
Yeah.
Montana Tech and doing, is it track and cross country?
Yes, yeah. So she's
Um,
busy.
that's fantastic. And then Bo, your younger brother, who's just starting high school, and is he a hooper as well or a runner?
Yeah, so well, he did do cross country in the fall, but he likes basketball more, so he's been in basketball. But yeah, so very busy schedules for sure.
So let's go back to that freshman year and what it was like to come in and to kind of have that mentality of coming off the bench and learning from those senior veteran leaders, like having an Esmeralda Morales, phenomenal leader, fantastic player. Talk about what that was like your freshman year.
Obviously, yeah, a great player, a great like role model to have coming in as a freshman,
Mhm.
just because it's kind of just easy to say your confidence isn't going to be there as a freshman. And that was a big part for me. I didn't have the confidence that I honestly should have. But that's okay because, sometimes you just have to work through things. I knew that I really couldn't change my defensive philosophy of myself of just going in and just saying, okay, well, I might not be as confident on the offensive end, but I'm going to be confident on the defensive end because I can control that. And so that's what I just made sure I did. And I think that's what gave me minutes. And I just worked with it. And just knowing that I was coming off the bench, like I just needed to do what it took to support the team and what the team needed. And obviously our team had a great year last year and super successful. So to just be any part of that, it was really cool.
I feel like that team mentality is so strong, and that's a real standard for Montana State for Coach
Mhm.
Binford. I mean, she's in her 21st year this year, but she hasn't had a losing season in 19. I mean, she's really set the standard for team. And I listen to every single post-game interview. I really hang on to what she has to say because it teaches me as a commentator. But
Yeah.
I think the team influence is what I really think that is like impressive about her.
For sure. No, and I think just finding your role, I think has always been an emphasis. And, to make sure you take your role no matter it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just work with that. And if you're in for 5 minutes in the game, to just put everything you have out on the floor. And I think she's done a good job at making sure everyone's on the same page that, our team is what's important and working for each other.
Taylor, I want to just talk about you as a player now. Like, how do you define yourself?
I would say that's a good question. I'd say I just try defensively. I feel like I've grown up trying to be aware of the ball. And so I've just kind of created these instincts of like, and I don't know how to explain it, but I kind of have instincts of where the ball is going to go or like what people are thinking sometimes, I think. So I think that definitely helps me on like the steal end, if that makes sense. And then offensively, quickness really helps me offensively. I think I like to drive into the basket, find opportunities. I like passing the ball. So if I can drive in and kick. But yeah, I think also my defense does lead to my offense. So just finding ways to be athletic on the floor and get the ball back. And I really like to run transition basketball. So any chance I can get a rebound, that's my favorite thing.
So I feel like Montana State really prides themselves on defense. And I feel like it's been something that has allowed you to weather offensive lulls because
Mm-hmm.
if you do have, every team goes through it, right? We all go through times when we feel like the ball just doesn't go in the hoop. But I feel like with your team, like you weather it through defense. Like, what do you take the most amount of pride in personally?
Yeah, I'd say it's nice with the way we play a full court press. So, I mean, for me, when they're taking the ball out and I get to be up on the ball and, be able to have the ability to go trap people. And that's one of my favorite things because it is a little bit of freedom to be able to just run in the backcourt. And obviously I love defense and to just be able to be free back there and kind of mess things up and do what I can back there. That's one of my favorite things.
And I will say that you have a whole team full of assertive and aggressive players as well. So I feel like you all just have that attack mindset. And I have had the opportunity to watch a couple of your practices, and it feels like that's where it starts. Like you guys are just a very like competitive group, even in your practices.
Definitely. Yeah. I think just having a team that is on the same page of, the aggressiveness to, everyone has to be on the same page to trap the ball. So to make sure people are shifting correctly and obviously emphasizing that in practice, it's fun when we all, especially getting further into the season and us playing together more and more, we've just really improved at our ability and our connections with each other defensively.
So Taylee, I feel like you never get tired though. I look out there and I'm waiting for you to like put your hands on your knees or just be like, hey, yeah, like I need to come out. It never happens. Do you get tired?
No, I mean, no, I think I'm very hard on myself. So I think I've tried to do a good job of just like, things don't go great, clear it out of my head. That's been, a big emphasis. And, I'll think about mistakes after the game and they'll really replay in my head. But I do my best while I'm playing to just like try to flush it. But yeah, I'm mentally tired maybe with those type of, errors type situations, but physically tired. No, I also think that's a mentality too. Like, oh, no, not tired.
So when I look at all of your statistical categories, it's very rare to have a player like you that leads in about every statistical category. But I do pick up on the fact that you are hard on yourself and you want to see improvement. So your defensive player of the year as a freshman, you have 113 steals your freshman year. Right now, you're at 140. So that's pretty darn good. And that's a very impressive number. But can you talk about that? Do you put pressure on yourself to go, you know what, I achieved this as a freshman. Like now I want to better my statistical categories.
For sure. And obviously I knew playing more minutes, I would be able to do that too. So that's obviously a big help there. But yeah, obviously each year you have goals to improve things. And I mean, I just told myself, like, I know what I could have done my freshman year offensively, but now I have the opportunity to do it. So it's time to kick it into gear, basically.
And that is really impressive that you played on an average 20 minutes a game last year. And that just is mind-boggling that you could come up with those stats. But you really asserted yourself. You get into the game, and as a freshman, and even now, you set the tone. So much of that on the defensive end is setting the tone early.
For sure. Yeah, I think defense is something that if you can just stop the other team offensively, they're going to get flustered naturally. So if you get a couple stops, like they're going to mentally get flustered. So I think having a team that's an emphasis, it's fun because you can see the shift in teams when things aren't going great because of our pressure.
So Coach Binford has talked to me a lot about how there is not one senior on this roster this year. And so there has been leadership from younger players. And she's talked about your leadership. How do you feel like you have grown as a leader this year?
Yeah, I definitely say I've gotten a little bit more vocal. I'm not the most vocal leader, I'd say. I just kind of like to just go play. I don't have usually a lot to say, but I do think if you're not saying stuff all the time and you say something, it's going to be a lot more meaningful. So I kind of come off of that perspective. You don't want someone blabbing the whole time. So,
Right.
but yeah. I like to lead by kind of example of, just playing hard. And I think when you're on a court and someone's playing hard, I think other people want to play hard, right? It's contagious. So that's obviously my goal anytime I'm in the game.
So let's talk some about this WNIT. You're back at home in the Brick. There is over 2,300 fans in your last game. You've only lost one game in the Brick in 2 years. I mean, that is so impressive when you look at it. You haven't lost it all this year. But can you talk about let's talk about Bozeman for a second and this fan environment and what it means to have them get behind this WNIT and just throw their support behind the postseason.
Yeah, yesterday when I looked out and saw fans over an hour getting here, and I'm like, wow, it's going to be filled up, I'm thinking. And just to see us come back from the locker room and come back out and the stands are just filled, I'm like, this is fun. And no team wants to play in a facility with the other team's fans filling it up, right? Like it's loud, you're not getting cheered for. And I think, it makes it fun for us. I think we really do play off of the energy of the crowd. And I've noticed that in a lot of our games. So being able to have the opportunity to play in front of them, it's exciting.
And that Bozeman community, it's been really a huge part of your heart. And I know that you're invested and you do a lot. So can you tell me about, I know that you want to be a teacher, and so you've been involved with the elementary schools. Can you talk about just the service behind what it means to wear that Montana State Bobcat uniform?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, having the ability to have the elementary kids come for the elementary game and making an impact in their lives. It's really fun. I'm doing a homeschool practicum class right now where I'm teaching homeschool kids PE, which is really fun. And then we also do like observations for adaptive PE classes here at elementary schools around Bozeman. So just getting the opportunity to connect with these kids and just give them someone to look up to as a role model, as an athlete, it's special.
And I know you're also very involved with the Special Olympics. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I work with a Special Olympics team called Outreach Bozeman here, and they're special needs adults. And I, all through this last summer and then into the fall, and now we're back at it. We've been practicing, but we're going to Minnesota this summer for the Special Olympics Nationals. So I'm a unified partner, so it's going to be really fun because I'll get to be on the court playing, helping facilitate, and I'll stay in the dorms there with the athletes and just help with the whole thing. And yeah, it's so much fun and it's something that I'm really passionate about.
Taylee, it's just remarkable to hear about that and to hear about you as a role model. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of your endorsements? This is really new with basketball, with how everything's working with NIL and the Bobcat Collective and all of these various pieces. And I think that it's important that we know which businesses are aligning with you. And I'd love for you to be able to give them a shout out.
Yeah. So starting off the Kendall Ford in Bozeman, I have a Ford Bronco. Yeah, Bobcat Gold, very, very cool. And then I also have Stacked Supplements here in Bozeman, and they have different supplements for muscle gain and things like that. So yeah, that's very nice to get protein and creatine and things like that. And then Pro Chiropractic, which I actually went to this morning, and had a chiropractor appointment. So that's been really nice post games. And then also the Montana Army National Guard is another big one, which has been really cool. I've gotten to go up to the base in Helena, shoot some different guns, military guns, and things that are just ride in military things. And just, it's been awesome.
Do you have any gear? Like if I wanted to sport Taylee
Yeah.
Chirrick gear, I mean, I've got a Money Williams like a lanyard in my, and I'd love to be able to know where I could send people on that visit the show to buy official Taylee Chirrick gear.
Yes, so this is coming out very soon. Montana State Bookstore, I have a deal coming with them here in the next month or so. Stuff should start coming out. So that's going to be a really exciting one. And then also Rockin' T6, and they have some cool Montana State gear, hats. They already have some shirts and sweatshirts and stuff with me. But yeah, I'm excited for the bookstore to come out with some stuff very soon.
So let's talk about your teammates. And I know that when I was in Boise and I had a chance to casually just be around all of you in the Grove, which is awesome. I love that tournament feel. And Blythe has become a really good friend of mine. I mean, we really competed hard, Taylee,
Yes.
against each other back in the
That's
day.
what I've heard.
Bill will vouch for that. But Blythe is a dear friend, and it was so much fun to be able to sit with her in the Grove and be around Grace and you and all of the team. So can you talk about how these friendships, I mean, these are like your sisters. I'm still doing group texts with my teammates now, and I'm 49, and I feel like I just played with them yesterday. Can you talk about that relationship?
For sure. I think the ability to have such a good relationship with your teammates is just so important because the connections you make just really are shown when you play with them. And Grace has become one of my best friends, which is awesome. And Addie, she's my roommate. So just having these close connections with your teammates and everyone getting along so well, like when you're having separation on teams, that's where things get a little bit sketchy. But just the ability for everyone to just get along super great. I think that's why we have so much success on the floor.
So what would a deep WNIT run mean to this program?
Oh, it would be awesome. I think so. Obviously, I don't know if you know, but this was our first postseason win that we've ever had. So being able to make history in that way, thinking that we're going to have goals to continue to make history as we win each of these games and keep progressing. But I think we have high goals and high expectations. So just continuing that mindset.
So we started this conversation, Taylee, with the Roberts robber, your roots, your family, where this all began. Now you're Big Sky Conference MVP, one of the best defenders in the country, playing in these moments. Like when you step on the floor, how much of that still feels like a reflection of where you came from?
Yeah, I'd say from a young age, I've just had big, high goals and high expectations, and a parent that has been hard on me and really emphasized that hard work is going to be what it takes to have success. And I think thinking about those things and just leading up to these moments have each thing that I've gone through has put me in this position for, successful things to happen. And just knowing that there's many ways to continue to progress and to work, it's very exciting.
That's powerful, Taylee, and it shows every time you play. Thank you so much for taking time with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks as well to Trisha Binford of the Montana State Bobcats for the insight and for taking the time with me today. And thanks to all of you for listening. This week's episode of the Krista Redpath Show was brought to you by the Good Food Store, where there's always something good here. The Krista Redpath Show, breaking down the game, elevating the story, and championing the female voice.